Namaste, Sat Sri Akal and Adab. My name is Sunil Jhaveri, also known as Mr. Bond in the mutual fund industry. In this second video, I'm going to talk about Baroda Dynamic Equity Fund, its performance and how it has done during the last 3 years since its launch in 2018. What will Baroda Dynamic Equity Fund achieve for the investors? First and foremost, it will do downside protection by investing when there's maximum opportunity in the market. That means the market valuations will be cheap at that point in time, so they will invest more into equity and less into debt. And when there is maximum risk in the market, they will just do the opposite of exiting out of equity, और उसको हम debt में लेके जाएंगे. Baroda Equity Fund, Dynamic Equity Fund उसको debt में लेके जाएगा, so that we do buy low and sell high, versus what the investors end up doing, buy high and sell low. There will be regular profit booking if the markets will go up. On a monthly basis, they will do rebalancing between debt and equity. जो market ऊपर चली गई, valuation has become more expensive, it will do some profit booking and bring it back to debt. And if the markets go down, it will buy at cheaper valuations as and when there is a downfall as far as the market valuations are concerned. It will ensure that there is a smoother and less volatile investment journey. हमारा सबका एक ध्यान उसके ऊपर रहना चाहिए that we should be able to give our investors a better journey and a smoother journey. And most importantly, if you have invested in a product like Baroda Dynamic Equity Fund, you don't have to create a separate debt folio. आपको separately debt में invest करने की ज़रूरत नहीं है, because on an average, these kind of products, including Baroda Dynamic Equity Fund, will be 50% in equity and 50% in debt, and that debt component also will have equity taxation. What are the other scheme attributes? It will have 30 to 100% in equity, 0 to 50% in arbitrage to bring the equity levels down. If the net equity levels have to be brought down to say 60%, they will have so much, that kind of percentage in arbitrage, and 0 to 35% will always be in debt. So this is the scheme attribute as far as the allocation between debt, equity and arbitrage is concerned. And more importantly, they have a proprietary model which takes into account the strategy of rebalancing between debt and equity. जो P&L aspect जो देखते हैं वो price to earning के हिसाब से वो लोग manage करते हैं. जो balance sheet aspect जो देखते हैं वो price to book के basis पे rebalance करते हैं. Market risk प्रीमियम एस्पेक्ट जो देखते हैं तो उसमें अर्निंग यील्ड्स गैप जो होती है उसको देखते हैं, अर्निंग्स ऑफ इक्विटी वर्सेस अर्निंग्स ऑफ डेट, उसके बेसिस पे दे विल डू रीबैलेंसिंग बिटवीन डेट एंड इक्विटी. एंड फाइनली द कैश फ्लो एस्पेक्ट जो देखते हैं दैट इज थ्रू डिविडेंड यील्ड. सो कॉम्बिनेशन ऑफ फोर ऑफ देम हैव वर्कड वेरी वेल इन दिस पर्टिकुलर स्कीम in terms of the strategy for rebalancing between debt and equity. It is a counter-cyclical approach. उसका मतलब ये है कि when the markets will be expensive, they will reduce equity exposure, and if the markets are valuations are cheap, they will increase equity exposure. As you can see from this chart, as and when the markets have gone up, the equity component has come down, and when the markets have gone down, the equity component in the scheme has gone up. Currently in December 2021, they were at 52% in equity, net equity as we call it. Now let me show you how this would have performed. ये जो मैंने data लिया है, that is based on the model portfolio which they have created by applying their proprietary model on BSE 100. So this is the backtested data. This is not the actual data of the scheme which came into existence from 2018 onwards. So backtested from say 2017 जो हमको करना है. So from July 2017 to Jan 2018, markets had gone up. All of us are aware of that, including mid cap, small cap and large cap. Baroda Dynamic Equity backtested model delivered 14.1% return. BSE 100 delivered 21% return, and BSE small cap, as you can see, delivered phenomenal returns of 53%. But from January 2018 onwards till September 2019, broader markets were actually correcting. Only the 10 stocks, Nifty 10 stocks were driving the market. What we call polarized जो था, तभी जो rally जो थी वो polarized थी thanks to the 10 Nifty stocks only. In spite of that, Baroda Dynamic Equity Fund backtested model during this period from July 2017 to September 2019 delivered 9.5% return. BSE 100 delivered 7.23% return, and small cap, as I told you, was correcting that time. It delivered negative 7% return. Value of small caps came down to 85 lakh rupees, 100 lakhs invested in July 2017. Thereafter, markets went up again. So September 2019 onwards, there was a call to invest in mid cap and small cap because they had bled profusely. So naturally, markets went up. From July 2017 to January 2020, आप देखेंगे Baroda Dynamic Equity Fund backtested model delivered 10.5% still. BSE 100 delivered 8.95 or 9% return, and the small cap, which had bled profusely, recouped some of the losses during this period and delivered 3% negative return. 85 lakh rupees became 93 lakh rupees during the same period. Naturally, as they say, rest is history. March 2020 का correction आया, 23rd March का जो correction था, major correction, 23rd and 24th of March 2020. 1 crore invested in July 2017 in Baroda Dynamic Equity Fund backtested model. The value was 96 lakh rupees. It protected downside for the investors due to buy low, sell high by reducing exposure to equity during this period when markets were becoming more expensive and getting more and more into debt at that point in time. BSE 100 came crashing down. The value came down from 1 crore to 83 lakh rupees, and small cap from 1 crore it came crashing down to 61.5 lakh rupees. Thereafter, all of us know markets recovered quite handsomely, and currently आप जो देखेंगे तो Baroda Dynamic Equity Fund has delivered 12% return from July 2017. 1 crore 67 lakhs rupees is the current value on the backtested model. Please keep that in mind. BSE 100, the value has grown now from to 1.74 crores, and BSE small cap has grown to 1.84 crores. But what I would like you to concentrate and observe through the subsequent slides is the smoother journey of Baroda Dynamic Equity Fund backtested model versus BSE 100 versus BSE small cap. This is the data from July 2017 till March 2020 of BSE 100, where 1 crore became 83 lakhs or 83.5 lakh rupees. This is the orange line is the small cap. As you can see, it bled further. 1 crore value came down to 61.5 lakh rupees, and the gray line, as you can see, is the Dynamic Equity Fund backtested model, Baroda Dynamic Equity Fund. It came down to 96 lakhs. It protected the downside and gave a much smoother journey to the investors. If you see it from July 2017 till December 2021, something similar in terms of the performance and the smoother journey of Baroda Dynamic Equity Fund. This is BSE 100. This is BSE small cap. You look at the chart, the way it has crashed and the way it has bounced back, but a much, it's like an ECG of a heart patient. As against that, if you notice the gray line of Baroda Dynamic Equity Fund, it has given a much smoother journey, much better investor experience also, and did downside protection when March 2020 happened. What do the dynamic equity funds do when the markets are at stagnant periods? Do they deliver returns at all or not? जब भी मार्केट ने 6100 से 6100 तक ही बचा था from 2007 to 2010, ये BSE 100 की डेटा है, तभी जब भी मार्केट delivered only 0.21% return, Baroda Dynamic Equity Fund on the backtested model delivered 12.11% return. Something similar, 6500 to 6500 from 2008 to 2010, markets delivered negative 0.4%. That means there were no returns whatsoever during that period, 2-year period. But Baroda Dynamic Equity Funds could still manage 12.47% return. How did that happen? It happened because there is a constant profit booking which is happening when the markets go up. The dynamic equity funds, they do the profit booking and bring it back into debt, and vice versa. Similar observations, as you can see, in different time zones, different market periods when markets were stagnant, but at the same time the dynamic equity fund still delivered 6.5-7% returns plus also. Does it participate when the markets go up? In a bullish market, जो लोग narrative देते हैं कि in a bullish market the dynamic equity funds do not participate. I would urge all those naysayers to see this data to understand that dynamic equity funds do deliver returns equivalent, if not better, than at least equivalent to the pure equity schemes also. In this case S&P 100, BSE 100, आप उसका जो आप performance देखेंगे from March 2009 when the markets had corrected by 60%, the lowest level of markets, till 30th of December 2021 when the markets are at an all-time high. So this is what I call the bullish period. If BSE 100 has delivered 16.6% return, the backtested model of Baroda Dynamic Equity Fund has delivered 16.07% return. Mind you, इसमें fund manager का कोई alpha नहीं है because we have taken an indice BSE 100 और उसके ऊपर हमने एक model test किया है. If there was a fund manager alpha, then naturally the delivery of the returns as far as actual performance may have been better during this period. Also, in spite of the fact that on an average during such period the equity component would have been between 50 to 54%, and in spite of that 90 to 95% participation in the upside of the index is possible, and it has been proven here through this data. What happens during bearish markets? When the markets correct, do dynamic equity funds protect downside? Yes, they do protect downside. So let me give you a few examples of bearish market periods. 2007 से 2009 का जो 2 साल का पीरियड था काफी bearish था. Markets delivered negative 45%. Baroda Dynamic backtested model delivered negative 23%, protected downside. 2015 to 2016 जब large cap corrected by almost 20% during that period, when BSE 100 delivered negative 21%, Baroda Dynamic Equity backtested model delivered negative 5%. And the recent one, 2018 to 2020 March, when the BSE 100 delivered negative 10%, Baroda Dynamic Equity backtested model delivered negative 2.5% or almost 3%. So there are various advantages of investing in a dynamic equity fund, especially a product like Baroda Dynamic Equity Fund, which protects on the downside, participates in the upside, and during the stagnant period, it delivers decent returns versus no returns during those stagnant periods in the indices. Generally मैं point to point returns की analysis नहीं दिखाता हूँ, but this time because there is a short track record of the scheme because it was launched in 2018 only. If you notice, as on 4th of January 2022, backward 1 year, 2 year and 3 year returns, it has delivered phenomenal returns, and it has been number 1 ranked and number 1 ranked in the 2 years and 3 year category, and number 3 ranked in the 3 year category, last 1 year category also. This is in spite of the fact that there are some pro-cyclical schemes which has higher allocation to equity during this period. In spite of that, and in spite of an average of 54% during this is the actual data of Baroda Dynamic Equity Fund since its inception, and in spite of only 54% average during this period of equity allocation, it has beaten the peers both on the pro-cyclical as well as on the counter-cyclical data kind of categories of dynamic equity funds also. A phenomenal performance, and as I said, it's a rising star in this category, and one should be looking at investing in this product going forward also. Same data in a graphical format. Now, how do you position Baroda Dynamic Equity Fund? First and foremost, position it as a scheme which is capable of doing downside protection, position it as a scheme which is capable of participating in the upside, position it as a scheme where it can deliver during stagnant market periods also, and more importantly, position it for creating cash flows, whereas the current way of creating cash flow is depending on interest on bank deposits or dividend from mutual fund schemes or stocks, as against that SWP, systematic withdrawal, or a deferred annuity is what I would like to call it. by investing in the scheme, holding it for 3 years, 4 years or 5 years, और उसके बाद आप SWP शुरू कीजिए by creating first of all cushion in the scheme, and उसके बाद जो आप SWP शुरू करेंगे, then the returns and the results will be outstanding. Let me explain to you how it works. इसको मैं बोलता हूँ deferred annuity from Baroda Dynamic Equity Fund. This is again on the back-tested model. If you had invested in say 3rd of January 2008 in the growth option and you let that grow till 3rd January 2013, that means 5 साल आपने उसको grow करने दिया, the value, and thereafter you started doing an SWP of 6% per annum, that is 50,000 rupees per month on the original investment of 1 crore which you had done on 3rd of Jan 2008. You have withdrawn 54 lakh rupees from 2013 to 2021. In spite of that, the current value of the scheme is 3 crore 37 lakhs, on which you only ended up paying 3 lakhs and 12,000 rupees as tax on that SWP which you have done of 54 lakh rupees. So current value plus SWP minus the tax is almost 3.88 crores. How do you read this chart is what I'm trying to explain to you. Let's take an example from say 7th of Jan 2010. You had invested 1 crore in Baroda Dynamic Equity Fund. You did not, it was in the growth option. आपने उसको grow करने दिया for 5 years. Till 2015 you did not do any SWP. From 2015 Jan onwards you started withdrawing again 6% per annum on the original investment of 1 crore, 50,000 per month, 6 lakh rupees per annum. You have withdrawn 42 lakh rupees during this period, but the current value of the scheme is 2.96 crores in spite of that withdrawal. So if we use this very effectively as a deferred annuity, it can be for the youngsters who started as career. उसको आप retirement cum pension plan बना सकते हैं. It can be used for the middle aged also, and it can be used for the senior citizens also, where you invest their money and then you start your SWP either the next year or after deferring it for 3 years, 4 years, 5 years and so on and so forth. Very effective tool and a very tax efficient way of creating cash flow. Remember, people need cash flows, especially senior citizens. They are not bothered about returns, they are bothered about cash flows and their survival at that point in time. So in conclusion, let me say, slow and steady wins the race. Sabr ka phal meetha hota hai. Baroda Dynamic Equity Fund will protect downside, give smoother and less volatile investment journey, and participate in market upside and help in generating regular cash flow. These are important aspects which you must keep in mind while investing in Baroda Dynamic Equity Fund kind of a product, which will be helpful for all age groups, be it youngster as I mentioned to you, be it middle aged or be it even senior citizens. I hope you've enjoyed the reasons why we are recommending asset allocation not only at this stage but at all stages in your life, and the importance of having Baroda Dynamic Equity Fund in your portfolio, which is the new star which has done exceedingly well over the last 3 years since its inception. Thank you so much. Mutual fund investments are subject to market risks. Read all scheme related documents carefully.